Hey guys, hope you're all doing great. I'm Ethan, and today we're diving into another set of wild Reddit stories. If you enjoy these deep dives, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you won't miss the next one. All right, fellas, let's jump right in. First story coming up. Much love, boys.
I woke up because the room flashed like lightning, but there was no storm. It was her Apple Watch. A tiny screen lit the ceiling and then my face, and 3 words slid across it like a knife. Can't sleep without you. It wasn't my name on the thread. It wasn't my text. I took the picture before my brain let my heart decide to be blind. Emily breathed steady beside me, mouth open the way she does when she's really out. We've been married 8 years. I know her sleep like I know the creak at the top of the stairs. I lay there with my phone in my hand and the little square of truth glowing on her wrist like a lighthouse for a ship I didn't know was coming. My thumb shook when I hit the shutter. That click felt like breaking glass. At 6:07 a.m., when her alarm tapped her wrist, she blinked awake and reached across me for the nightstand. Coffee first? Always. She kissed my cheek without looking, automatic, and the watch face turned toward me like a witness. I slid my phone across the sheets. "What's that?" she said, voice gravelly. "A picture," I said, "from last night." She looked at the screen. The color left her cheeks like someone dimmed a lamp. "Oh," she said. "That's Ryan, that's a joke. It's a coworker, he's sarcastic, he says stuff like that all the time." I'd prepared the question all night like a little speech. "Then why did your heart rate hit 120 at 11:47? She didn't speak. Her mouth opened, closed. Something flickered behind her eyes. She looked down at the watch like it might tell her what to say. I didn't say anything else. Sometimes silence is the only honest sound left. It's strange how quickly a home shifts when you see a crack. The sink was still the same, a stack of bowls leaning toward the faucet. The morning show still ran a loop of weather and traffic. The dog still grunted in his sleep, back legs pedaling. But the air wasn't the same. It had a charge in it like before, thunder. At work, I moved through tasks like a man underwater. I run post-install support for an HVAC supplier in Raleigh. People call when their upstairs is hot and their downstairs is an icebox. The problems are always in the lines, the loops, the cycles that don't match. That day, the word cycle sat in my mouth like a bitter pill. 11:47 p.m., heart rate 120. I had memorized the numbers like an address. When I got home, Emily was at the kitchen island with her laptop, shoulders pinched. She smiled when she saw me, and it was the version of her smile she uses in group photos with people she barely knows. Her hands were clean, no ring. The thin groove on her finger looked like a pale riverbed. "I know how that looked," she said. "You took that picture after a drink. You don't sleep well when you drink. It's easy to misread things at night." "I didn't drink," I said. She blinked. She glanced at the watch, then set her wrist flat on the counter. "He's a colleague, Ryan. He's married. He jokes with everyone. It's office culture." "What's his name?" "Why does that matter?" Her voice went up a note. "I'm telling you, it's not what you think." "It matters," I said, "because if I'm supposed to believe you, I need a name to put on the ghost in my house." She closed her eyes and exhaled through her nose. "Jeremy," she said. "Jeremy L. He's on the operations team in Charlotte. We've worked late on a couple launches. He's a goof, that's all." "Okay," I said. I stared at her hand. The ring tan looked like a lie in negative. "Why is your heart sprinting when he texts you at night?" "I don't know," she shrugged. "Caffeine, anxiety, my sleep's been weird." "Since when?" She rolled a shoulder. I don't know. Work's been tough." I nodded like we were normal. I microwaved leftovers and opened the back door for the dog and watched the world outside keeping its secrets. The neighbor's porch light clicked on. Somewhere, a siren. Emily typed. The keys sounded guilty. I slept on my side of the bed facing the wall. At 11:32, the room breathed and hummed, and it was nothing, just the air conditioner clicking over. At 11:47, I lay there with my eyes open and felt her shift. The watch glowed. I didn't look. I didn't need another picture. Some truths are loud even when you cover your ears. The next morning, after she left, I sat on the edge of the bed with her watch in my hand. The rubber band smelled like her lotion. I didn't know her passcode, but I had mine. 6 months after we bought the watches, we'd set up health sharing so we could nag each other about steps and pretend we were getting in shape together. I opened my health app. The last 30 days folded out in neat lines and little graphs, our bodies turned into data that couldn't lie well. I scrolled to heart rate. I pulled 2 timelines side by side, her red line above my blue. Mine jogged and dropped like a lazy river. Hers spiked at strange hours like someone throwing rocks into a pond. Tuesday, Friday, Wednesday. 11:40 something, midnight and some minutes, 12:19. Every time her numbers leapt like a deer and stayed there, panting, for 30, 40, 50 minutes. Then they drifted down into sleep. I set the phone on my lap and covered my face with my hands. I'm not a dramatic man, I don't punch walls, but something inside me made a sound like a torn bag of dry leaves. I breathed into my palms until I could see again. I texted my sister, Nina. She's a grade school teacher who can read 20 subplots in a room of 8-year-olds. I didn't send the picture, I sent the heart rate charts. "What am I looking at?" I wrote. She called me right away. "I'm at recess," she said, whispering like she was sneaking a crime. "Ryan, is that hers?" "Yeah, it is." "Is she running marathons at midnight?" "Apparently. If you want to, you are to be members." "Hey," she said softly. "Hey, come over tonight, I'll make spaghetti." "I can't yet," I said. "I want to be sure I'm not building a story on a coincidence." "Okay," she said. "Just remember you're allowed to feel what you feel, even before it's a courtroom case." After I hung up, I opened our carrier account. We're on a family plan. I wasn't snooping, I was paying the bill. The numbers sat in a list, as usual. I scrolled. Most nights were nothing but spam, and ones from me and her mother. But on the spike nights, there was a call entry at 12:06 a.m., 15 minutes, a number with a Charlotte area code. No name tied to it, just digits and the word mobile. I stared at those numbers like they might rearrange themselves into coincidence. They didn't. In the laundry room, I found a paper lump at the bottom of the dryer. A receipt, washed and wrinkled. I teased it open with my thumbs. Triangle Diner 2 nights earlier, a late timestamp. A booth number scrawled and a server named Lisa. 2 entrees, 1 dessert with extra whipped cream. No ring on your finger means nothing when your name is printed on paper in a month where you told me you were too tired for date night. That night, I cooked and we ate with the TV talking to cover the silence. She laughed at something on the show and it sounded like a cough. "I'm exhausted," she said, and kissed the top of my head as she stood. "Early meeting. I'm just going to read and crash." "Okay," I said. At 11, she turned the page of a book she wasn't looking at. The night ticked across the face of the alarm clock. At 11:46, the bathroom fan came on. At 11:47, the dog lifted his head and whined, soft, the way he does when a rabbit crosses the yard. The fan clicked off. Emily slipped back into bed and set the watch face down with the care of someone laying a baby in a crib. "Who did you text?" I said into the darkness. "Work," she said. It was automatic, like opening an umbrella when you hear rain. "Is Jeremy work?" I asked. "Ryan," she said, voice flat. "Please stop, you're making me nervous." "My job is to check the lines," I said. "That's all. When the upstairs is hot and the downstairs is cold, I check the loops until I see why. It's not personal, it's physics." "You're not a thermostat," she said. "You're my husband. Trust me." She rolled away. The bed hummed with her trying not to breathe too fast. The watch on her wrist made a small sound like air waking like a mouse. 2 days later, her team had a regional offsite in a hotel ballroom near the airport. Spouses were invited to a cocktail hour at 6. The email said business casual. I put on the shirt she likes. The one she said made my shoulders look like more than the sum of their parts. In the mirror, I saw the man I had been last year, the one who didn't count beats. "I want you to meet my boss," she said in the car, hands tight on the wheel at 10 and 2. She didn't wear her ring. "He's great. He loves my projects." "Sure," I said. The ballroom smelled like salad dressing and cold air. The carpet had a pattern that made you dizzy if you stared too long. People wore name tags and talked in packs. Emily loosened. She laughed and touched shoulders and turned into the version of herself who could make a table feel like summer, and I remembered why I fell in love with her. She grabbed my hand and introduced me to 3 people I forgot immediately, and then she pulled me toward a circle where a man stood with his back to us. "Jeremy," she said, bright, "this is my husband." He turned, and his smile was the one you get from men who think eye contact is the same as sincerity. He had a perfect part in his hair and a tie that cost more than my shoes. "Ryan," he said, offering his hand, "I've heard so much about you." "Have you?" I said. He squeezed my hand too long. His eyes flicked to Emily and back. It was quick, like a swallow, but I saw it. I see cycles. I see small movements that tell you why a room burns or chills. "What do you do?" he asked. "Support," I said. "I make sure people are comfortable in their homes." "Big job," he said. "People are needy." "Sometimes they just want truth before they sleep," I said. His smile twitched. "Well," he said, lifting his drink, "to truth." We left early. In the car, she stuck her hand out the window and let the wind push her palm up and down like a bird. "See," she said, "you met him. Are you calmer?" "Did you tell him you can't sleep without him?" I asked quietly. She yanked her hand in and hit the window switch. "That's cruel," she said. "You're not being fair." The following week, a package came for Emily. A small box, unmarked, the kind of box jewelry stores use. I set it on the counter next to the bowl where we throw keys. When she got home, she slid a finger under the tape and lifted the lid. Inside was a leather watch band, soft, tan, the kind you buy when you're done pretending you'll switch it on your own. The note said, in tidy script, "Try this. It looks like you. No name." "I bought it for myself," she said, too fast, before I had time to ask. "I used a gift card. Why are you staring at me?" "I didn't say anything," I said. "You're judging me." I wasn't. A leather band is just a band. But the fact that you defended it before the trial tells me what verdict you expect. On Friday, Nina texted to say, Mom had found a photo from when we were kids, me with my arm around a dog we had before I learned to tie my shoes. I drove over because it felt safe. When I got there, Nina put a plate in my hands before I finished sitting down. "You look like someone who needs carbs," she said. In her living room, she let me talk for a long time. I told her about the band, the meeting, the way the word Jeremy felt like a pellet under my skin. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I'm going to ask the simplest possible questions until I have to ask the hard ones," I said. "Do you want me with you?" "I think I have to do it alone," I said. "She'll say you're the enemy if you're there." She nodded and squeezed my wrist, thumb pressing my pulse. "Then promise me you won't pretend you're okay when you're not." That night, Emily said she was going to the gym. The watch on her wrist flashed when she packed her bag, and her eyes followed it the way a mother follows a toddler near a pool. "Do you want company?" I asked. "I can get a workout." "No," she said quickly. "I need to clear my head." "Okay." She left at 9:20. At 9:42, I opened Find My. The map spun and pinned. Her phone did not show up at the gym. It flickered near a diner off the highway and then disappeared, like a coin dropping through a slot. She had turned off location. That wasn't a setting you find by accident if you use your phone every day. At 10:39, an email landed in our shared inbox from a rideshare service she uses when she travels for conferences. "Thank you for your trip." It listed a start near the diner and a drop at a hotel off exit 15. The timestamp laid itself down on my skin like a brand. I could have driven there. I could have stood in a lobby and asked the clerk a question with my name rattling at the end of the sentence like a loose screw. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table with my hands flat and counted my heartbeats down from 120 until they were something a doctor would like. When the door opened at 1:12, she froze like she smelled smoke and couldn't find the source. "Hey," she said. Her hair was smooth in a way that doesn't happen after a treadmill. She tasted like mint and something she doesn't drink at home. "How was the gym?" I asked. "Good," she said. "I did intervals." "Intervals are good," I said. "Did you stretch?" She swallowed and looked at the dog. He looked back with the simple brain of a creature who can tell when someone is lying because the house feels wrong. She went upstairs without touching me. The next afternoon, I made coffee and called my friend Caleb, who runs maintenance for a downtown hotel. I didn't tell him everything. I asked about heart rate stress. "Do you still race?" I said. "Twice a year," he said. "What's up?" "If you were to sit still and your heart hit 120 at midnight," I said, "what would you assume?" He laughed. "Depends who I'm sitting with. But seriously, unless you're sick or anxious as hell, that's adrenaline or exertion. Why?" "No reason," I said. "Okay," he said. "Hey, you're a good man. You fix stuff. Just remember, you're not a machine." On Sunday, we went to her mother's for lunch. Emily touched my knee on the highway and then pulled her hand back like it burned. At the table, her mom asked about a trip Emily had to Charlotte next week. "It's a 2-day workshop," Emily said. "We're doing a sprint." "Do you need me to watch the dog?" her mom asked. "No," I said. "I'll be home." After dessert, while Emily helped load the dishwasher, her mother pulled me aside near the garage door. "She seems tired," she said softly. "Working too much." "I know," I said. "Do you like Jeremy?" Her mom blinked. "Who?" "Her colleague," I said. "Oh," she said slowly. "I've only heard his name." She squeezed my elbow. "You two are strong. You'll be fine." On Tuesday night, I set the iPad on the dresser, face down, the way she sets her watch. The health app was open under the screen. The iPad is tied to my account, and my account has a list of people who share their health. I didn't do anything tricky. I scrolled to the part where you can see recordings from the Breathe app and heart rate. I set the bedroom lamp to the lowest dim and waited. She came home from drinks with Claire and took a long shower. When she climbed into bed, she put her watch on the nightstand to charge. The leather band, the nice one, lay slack, like it had done something hard. She rolled toward the wall, shoulder a hard line. At 11:13, the iPad buzzed, a gentle little tap from an app that thinks it's helpful. Recent heart rate above resting rate, the note said. I slid my finger under the edge of the iPad and pulled it out. The graph rose in a neat red mountain. The system had a line for each minute. It recorded things that are not just jogs. It recorded what your body does when your mouth calls it work. I slept 3 hours. I dreamed of wires crossing in a wall, heat gathering where it shouldn't. In the morning, she stood in the kitchen in my t-shirt. Her hair was braided. She looked younger like that. For a blink, I remembered a day at the state fair when she ate a funnel cake and got powder on her nose and laughed when I kissed it. My chest hurt in that human way. I hate this, she said. Her voice was small. I hate feeling like this. Like what? I asked. Like a suspect, she said. You're not a suspect, I said. You're my wife. She put both hands on the edge of the counter and bowed her head. I'm scared, she said. Of what? I asked. Of losing you, she said. And... Then tell me the truth, I said. She looked up, and every part of me that had ever loved her crowded to the front like a fan club, begging me to sign them in. I've been unhappy, she said. The word landing like a plate slid onto a table. You work late, and when you come home you're tired, and I feel like I'm 10 steps behind your mind. Jeremy listens. He makes me feel seen. It's complicated. It's not complicated, I said. I asked if you were safe. You said you were in a gym. Your body said you were in a different kind of room. The math asked for honesty, and you gave it fiction. She flinched. It was a mistake, she said quickly. I swear, it wasn't. I didn't plan it. It just... Just what? I said softly. It started as jokes, she said. Then, after a late meeting, we had a drink. I felt alive. People also feel alive when they steal a car, I said. It doesn't make it theirs. She cried then, a small cry, the kind you do when you don't want to look ugly. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to hurt you. You meant to not think about me, I said. That's different. She stepped toward me and I stepped back, and the space between us was very loud. I can fix this, she said. I'll block him. I'll change teams. We can go to counseling. I love you. I think you love the way he makes your heart beat, I said, and you love that I love you enough to forgive you for it. That's not fair, she said fiercely. I have been there for you through everything. I know, I said. I know the list by heart. We can write it together if you want and hang it over the table, but lists don't erase what your watch knows. She sat down hard on a stool like her legs forgot her. What do you want me to do? She asked. Tell me the truth, I said again. All of it. Name the nights. Name the lies. She swallowed. She told me 3 nights. I knew there were more, but 3 was enough to map the road. She said the hotel name once, and the way she said it made me want to throw the sound at the wall. She said he told her he might leave his wife, and I almost laughed because we were in a cliché and I hadn't noticed when it started. Do you think I'm evil? She asked, voice a thread. No, I said. I think you're human, and I think sometimes humans use that as permission to be cruel. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. I can't be without you. Then you should have been with me, I said. 2 days later, I took a half day at work and went to see a lawyer, not because the story called for blood, but because I needed to learn the script of the next act so my hands would stop shaking. He used words like equitable and distribution, and I wrote them down like vocabulary. When I came home, the sun was just past the roofline and threw long bars of light across the kitchen. Emily sat at the table with her laptop. The watch lay next to it, face up, like a coin waiting to be flipped for heads or tails. She looked at me like a defendant looks at a jury of one. Are you really going to leave? She asked. I'm going to leave the version of us where I beg you to tell me what your pulse already did, I said. She put her head in her hands. I hate myself, she said. I don't want you to hate yourself, I said. I want you to regret the harm. They're not the same. Say you'll try, she said. Please, say we'll try. I'll try to be a man who doesn't look at his phone like it's a lie detector, I said. But I'm failing. She stood and walked around the table and stopped in front of me. If you go, she said, I won't survive this. You will, I said. You'll survive and maybe you'll stop when your body tells on you next time. She slapped me then, not hard, but enough to make a sound and surprise us both. We stared at each other like 2 people who had crashed carts in a grocery store. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "I didn't." "I know," I said. "You didn't plan that either." We spoke to a counselor on a Tuesday. The counselor was calm and said there were paths through this, but all of them required truth without loopholes. Emily nodded and squeezed a tissue, and I sat with my hands on my knees like a boy in a principal's office trying to look sorry and capable at the same time. That night, I lay awake at 11:45 and listened. The watch sat on the nightstand. I had taken it off her wrist gently while she slept because the skin under the band looked raw where the buckle rubbed. I turned it over in my hand. The heart icon pulsed. "Hey Siri," I said softly, feeling like an idiot for talking to a machine, "show me last night's heart rate." The screen woke and drew the line right in front of me. The bump at 11:48 was a hill like all the other hills. I felt cold all the way up my back. She hadn't even tried to hide in her sleep. The next morning, I made pancakes because it felt like an act of faith. She watched me and cried into a napkin and said she didn't deserve pancakes, and I said everyone deserves breakfast. And the dog sat under the table with his chin on my foot, and the room felt like a place where people who loved each other had lived. "Can we start over?" she asked. "I don't think we can start over," I said. "I think we can start again. Those are different." "What does that mean?" she asked. "It means there's a before and an after," I said. "I'm trying to see if there's a way to not hate the bridge." That afternoon, she texted me a screenshot of a blocked contacts list with a circle around his number. She sent me a paragraph she had written to her boss asking to switch teams. She sent an email to HR requesting a meeting about inappropriate communication. I wanted those to mean the things she wanted them to mean. I wanted to write down points on a whiteboard and make a plan. But out the window, the oak in our yard still had a scar from the time lightning skipped across it years ago. The tree lived. The scar never left. We sat again with the counselor. We said true things. Emily said she had started flirting to feel powerful when she felt small at home. I said I had been lazy with romance and hard with schedules. She said Jeremy had filled a hole. I said holes don't get filled by bodies, they get filled by repairs. The counselor nodded like a lighthouse keeps nodding off the bay. Steady, steady, steady. On a Saturday, Emily went to her mother's to help clean the attic. I drove to the dog park and sat on a bench while the dog chased a tennis ball that wasn't his. A man sat down next to me and made a comment about weather. I told him a little piece of my story, the safe piece, the heart rate part. He whistled low and said, "Man, even her heart gave her away." "It did," I said, and the words felt like something I could stand on. When I got home, a card sat on the kitchen counter. Emily's handwriting on the front. Inside she wrote, "I choose you," with 3 sentences about vows and the way I fixed the noisy house fan. A second card lay under it, the kind you slide under a hotel door. "Thank you for your stay," it read, and listed a room number in pen. It was old. It must have fallen out when she pulled the attic boxes. It felt like a message from a ghost who didn't know the house had new owners. When she came in, I held it up. "What's that?" she asked, but she knew, and her shoulders dipped like she had been carrying grocery bags too long. "I can't keep doing this," I said. "We're trying," she said. "I'm trying." "I know," I said, "but your try keeps bumping into your history, and my try keeps bleeding out." She began to cry again, big this time, the kind that makes you want to put your arms around someone and pull their head into your chest. I did not. I stood with a small distance between us because sometimes distance is the only honest thing left. "Please," she said, "please don't give up." "I'm not giving up," I said. "I'm choosing a life where I don't have to watch a graph to understand my marriage." I went upstairs. On the dresser, her watch lay where I had left it after I charged it. I carried it down and set it on the kitchen table between us. The leather band curled into a little question mark. "This is your evidence?" she asked, voice hoarse. "It's not my evidence," I said. "It's your confession. You wrote it in beats per minute and late-night calendars and rides to exits with numbers for names. You told the truth with your heart and lied with your mouth. I can't keep pretending I don't speak the language of machines and bodies." She put her hands over her face. Her fingers trembled. "What happens now?" she asked through them. "You talk to a lawyer," I said. "I'll talk to mine. We'll be kind where we can and firm where we must. We'll separate our loops." "And us?" she asked. "We'll heal," I said. "You there, me here." I walked to the door and put my shoes on. The dog watched with his head tilted. Emily stood in the doorway of the kitchen with the watch at her hip like a surrendered weapon. I looked at her for a long time because I wanted to remember her with a braid and a t-shirt and swollen eyes. The first day we met, she had stood under a string of lights and said my name like it was already something she owned. I didn't know then that ownership is not love. Love is pointing a light home even when you're tired of standing on the shore. I left the watch on the table. I left the house. In the car, my heart slowed. The graph would have drawn it like a gentle hill, down, down, down into something like rest. I drove without music. The sky was clean. I didn't know where I was going except away from a place where the truth and the lie wore the same face. Even her heart knew which was which. I do too now. That has to be enough. I found an apartment with a view of a little pond with ducks that quack like broken horns. I called Nina and told her, and she said she would help me move my books and our mother's hutch and the framed map from Asheville we got on our second anniversary when we thought maps could teach us how to get anywhere. At night, I ran 3 slow miles and timed my breath to the slap of my shoes on the path. I looked at my watch after and it told me good job, and I laughed because sometimes a machine can be kind without knowing it. Some nights I think about forgiveness like a door that sticks. Maybe one day it opens, maybe it doesn't. I keep oil by the hinge just in case. I don't read her heart rate anymore. I learn the edges of my own. If a man asked me now how you know when it's time to go, I would say this: when the proof you need is the proof you already have, and all that's left is courage. When silence says more than another argument. When the little screen wakes you and writes a truth you would never write yourself, and you take a picture because you already understand, deep down where the body keeps books, that some things you can't unknow. I didn't win. I didn't lose. I just listened to the thing that never lies and finally let it lead me out. 2 questions for you. Would you stay and try to rebuild if the signs lined up this clearly, or would you walk to protect your own heart? And what proof would you need to believe your eyes over someone's words when you love them? If this story hits something real for you, like and comment to tell me what you do, and subscribe for more.